Well, we're joined now by recovering gambler Sarah Grant. John Myers, whose son took his own life after racking up gambling debts, and psychologist Emma Kenny. Welcome, everyone. Can you explain to me what is, for anyone who doesn't know, a fixed odds betting terminal?
It's in the betting shops. There are these machines you can go on and you can play sort of, you know, like fruit machines with the reels. You can play like roulette. And you can go on them, and I think it's like a £500 maximum you can win. And at the moment you can go into it and you can bet £300 every minute.
So it's about £100 every 20 seconds.
Yeah.
It resets itself.
Yeah.
And so there was talk that, I mean, this is what everybody has been waiting for, that those odds would be, those stakes would be reduced, and it would be down to £2 per minute, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And so, so now you've found out that there is a delay, which has led to the resignation of the minister. What do you think?
I just think it's terrible that they're just leaving it like this. Like, I'm a gambler myself, and I just don't understand how we're so far behind in the times, like times with smoking, when we sort of said that was a good thing. I can't understand how we're now doing this with gambling, and we're like, teaching children that it's okay and that it's a norm, and we're just like accepting it as a good thing.
Well, this started quite young for you, didn't it, Sarah?
Yeah.
You said you would go into sort of an arcade or whatever it be, and you just didn't want to leave.
No, when I was younger, I wouldn't have said like when I was younger, but when I was older I realised through therapy that for me, probably in the arcades as a young child down in the seaside, just continually like going in them, I'd want to win more and more tickets, and for me they were like, stop me being bored. They were my mum and dad, because there was no one else around, and they just were my everything, so I began a relationship with them. And then for me then, what I've noticed throughout my life, because I want to go back to that happy time, that's what I seem to go back to all the time.
So how bad did it get for you?
For me, my biggest downfall, I committed an offence and went to prison for theft. And that
This is
was
to
like,
fund your gambling
yeah,
addiction.
I used the whole amount to fit. It was my first ever arrest, and that's what I did. And I think it was then that because I'd hidden it for years and years, no one knew. And then I came out of prison and it was in the paper, gambling addict, and everyone suddenly knew, and I just couldn't take it. So
Is that when you realised that that's what you were?
Yeah. I think before you're just in denial, and because you're constantly trying to like chase your losses all the time, and you don't really like think it's an addiction. You don't. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was a problem. And then it was only at that time, and I came out and I just had nothing. I was homeless. I had no job, had no money. I was in debt, and I just wanted to take my own life because I didn't know where to go for help.
Which sadly is exactly what Ryan did, John, and I'm so sorry that you're here under these circumstances. A carpenter, it took his life at just 27. You had pictures taken just before that terrible day. You were laughing on a family holiday just days before. Did any of you have any idea?
No. We knew, not stupid, we knew he had a bet. But when we asked him, we said to him, what are you doing? He said, oh, it's only a couple of quid. You know what I mean? Because he was always careful with his money. He always had savings in his bank account. He would never buy on impulse. He'd think about it and things like that. Then he had this thing that we didn't know about that was just draining his money all the time. Like you say, we had just been on holiday. Ryan was a very happy lad, very happy-go-lucky lad, what you call the life and soul of the party. And we'd had a fantastic holiday. Came home on the early hours of the Friday morning. His mum contacted him on Saturday. He was still in a good mood. He was happy. He was getting ready for work. He said everything was fine. And then on the Sunday, we got this thing on Facebook saying he's so sorry. We tried to get in touch with him. We couldn't. Eventually he was going down there, and my phone rang, and it was his number. And I said, look, yeah, it's him. Like, he was all right. But it wasn't. It was a friend to say, get down here as soon as you can.
Oh, goodness me.
So when we got down there, the police were there, the ambulance was there. We tried to get into the house, a policeman at the bottom of the stairs, and he said, you can't go up there, he's self-harmed. So we thought, well, self-harmed, it's nothing, you know what I mean? And then he said, no, life's extinct. So,
You say these are, the machines are like the crack cocaine of gambling. What makes you say that?
Because they suck people in. they say that 52% of people who use these machines are either already addicted or on the way to addiction. That's a big amount. And it's about 42% for the online type of machines that are. So they are the type that grab you because they're so fast, so quick. It's gone, it's gone, it's gone. And then before you know it, as I said, you're chasing your losses. Yeah. Once you start chasing your losses, that's when you're in deep.
And Sarah, you said, I guess, in reflection of what John's saying, the whole thing is kind of glamorised. It sort of is a bit of an allure to it.
Yeah, well, you'll see on most like sports, they're wearing it on their shirt. It's all over the TV, and then you've got like celebs endorsing it on adverts.
Got young children wearing shirts with Betty, not supposed to
and with probably
kids.
no idea.
And the children are wearing them, you know what I mean? And that's what they get you. And it's normalised. That's the biggest problem. People don't see it as a big thing. I mean, you've got these celebrities endorsing things, and I spoke to one of them on Twitter, and he wouldn't even call it gambling addiction. You call it habitual gambling, like biting your nails. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest problem we've got, getting people to understand it's not a normal part of society. It's not a normal part of everything.
It's serious.
It's very, very serious.
Well, we know that, as we said, Sports Minister Tracy Crouch resigned over the weekend. She's been pushing for this limit to be put in place much sooner. It was initially April, then talking about October. And then you look at the figures, and we said that in the introduction there, that this is a £1.8 billion industry. This is £400 million in tax for the government. Little wonder they're dragging their feet, really.
No, I couldn't agree with you more, Philip. As you know, we have very similar beliefs around what we're putting money into and why we're avoiding doing things with certain areas of our society. You said the crack cocaine, and you asked a question about that. Yeah, people struggle to understand gambling because you're not putting anything inside your body. So when you think about cocaine or opiates, you think, yeah, I can see that that's going in. So on a biochemistry level, I'm imagining that must make a difference and addiction must follow. Actually, gambling affects the brain in exactly the same way. So yes, you're not putting anything into your body, but your body is giving you the same reactions, which creates a reward and reinforcement system, like you were saying. Also, if you are an individual who've had problems with relationships early on, if you are an individual who's had mental health issues, these are all triggers that can even reinforce that behaviour further. So we're looking at the most vulnerable people in society, the most loved individuals at times, who in spite of that...
I'd agree with you to a certain extent, but like I say, our Ryan and all the people I've spoken to didn't have these issues. Our Ryan was a very loved child. He was always told he was loved. He had a loving family. We had a fantastic family.
But also, many,
nothing in the background.
as Sarah was saying there, you find yourself in this, but you refuse to admit that that's what it is.
And also, you are in a loving family, and for example, when you're in a loving family, you know you're doing something that's wrong and destructive. So you don't tell people what your worst sadness here is, that you would have done anything to help him, and it's clear. And your message and legacy is to let anybody out there right now speak out. Don't have that shame. Don't be afraid. There are organisations out there right now who can help you, but it will never change until you make that move. You're right, we need to change the legislation, but for people out there, GamCare, Gamblers Anonymous, I know that you've probably had involvement with those, even some apps, GT Therapy app, that's a gambling app that you can go online for free. There are options, but the biggest thing is people are in denial, but people are also ashamed, and losing your addiction, it's all very well saying to people, you need to stop gambling. Of course you need to stop gambling, you need to stop all those habits, but what are you giving me to replace that? How do I cope with my feelings unless you give me something else? That's what you're talking about. That money, that's where it needs to be going. And absolutely, we need to reform the way that we advertise to children and adults in our society with gambling.
This is just the tip of the iceberg. This £2 limit is the tip of the iceberg. We need to get the advertising sorted. We need to get the online. The online's a silent one. Because I've always said, if you're sat in the pub, you can see a guy who's an alcoholic. Let's be honest, you can see the druggie going in the toilet all the time. The guy sat in the corner on his phone being nice and quiet. He's gambling his life away and nobody knows. You can't see it.
And you reduce it to £2, they'll still spend the money.
They'll still spend the money.
They'll get there in the end.
And it's the secret side of it. It's the secret, isn't it? That's hard.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for coming in today. And stay well. And thank you. And we're very sorry. And thanks again.
Thank you very much. Well, as we heard from Sarah and John there, these machines can allow users to fall into substantial debt. And Martin Lewis is standing by to take your calls. Who would you like to hear from today?